Welcome once again to Liberty Global Reports, here from the Liberty Television Studios in Kaduna. I am Arthur Brooks. Here at Liberty, we have our guest, Professor Khalifa Dikwa. Other guests may join us, we hope. And as usual, we are following reports from around the globe. And welcome to viewers who are watching us in Nigeria on the Star Times network and Go Work and other networks, and our other viewers watching us across West Africa, and our viewers watching us on the internet, on Facebook and YouTube. This week has been a very busy week around the world. Lots of news stories. We'd like to try and cover some. The big news in Europe, and particularly in the United Kingdom, is the Brexit, what shall I call it, the Brexit fiasco. It's getting like a...
The showdown.
Showdown. It's getting like a Big Brother or something, I'm not sure. Let's watch this short report on Daily Telegraph online television.
Stop the coup!
Britain's democracy is at war with itself. As protesters marched on Westminster, politicians returned from the summer recess poised to push new legislation through Parliament to block Boris Johnson. A number of MPs, including prominent politicians in Johnson's own Conservative Party, have rebelled against the government and united with opposition MPs to force Johnson to delay Brexit. The default legal position is the UK will leave the EU on the 31st of October. MPs want to delay Brexit until the end of January to prevent leaving the EU without a deal.
The ayes to the right, 328. The noes to the left, 301.
On Tuesday evening, MPs voted to take control of parliamentary business.
Not a good start, Boris.
Allowing them to begin debating the creation of new legislation on Wednesday. If MPs do pass a bill to prevent a no deal, Johnson says he'll have no choice but to push to hold a general election, possibly on October the 15th.
If MPs vote tomorrow to stop negotiations and to compel another pointless delay to Brexit, potentially for years, then that would be the only way to resolve this. And I can confirm that we are tonight tabling a motion under the Fixed Term Parliament Act.
There is no consent in this House to leave the European Union without a deal. There is no majority for no deal in the country.
The defection of one Conservative MP to the opposition Liberal Democrats means Johnson no longer has a majority in Parliament. By voting against the government, other Conservative Party rebels have effectively ended their political careers. The bill will need to go before the upper house, the House of Lords, on its journey into law, but there are no guarantees it will work. And after Boris Johnson's decision to shut down Parliament for a month, possibly from next Monday, MPs don't have much time at all. The government says it wants a deal with the EU and that progress is being made. Johnson's supporters see no deal as an important negotiating position with Europe. Brexit has distorted British politics, uniting old opponents, dividing old alliances. The country is careering towards a new Brexit climax, but the question that's confounded the country and the continent is whether we're approaching a Brexit finale or simply another cliffhanger. Johnson can't call a general election alone. He needs the backing of most MPs to trigger a snap poll. Opposition parties are now weighing up the risks of a sudden vote. The battle lines are drawn. The government and Parliament are fighting for the right to determine Britain's Brexit future. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
The amount of, what shall I say, insults and attacks going on is incredible.
Real bashing.
It's sad in a way, but it's very interesting to watch what's happening.
It was getting a bit hot with words that were not considered civil in the past, particularly in Britain, which is the oldest the oldest Western
Yeah, the mother
democracy
of
after
parliaments.
taking it from Greece and modifying it to create an establishment in between the real voters and the the government. And I say now the parliament itself, the House of Commons, being threatened by the comedian that I call comedian Prime Minister Johnson. Boris Johnson is a comedian because he hasn't brought anything newer than what Theresa May put
No,
on
he
the
hasn't.
table.
Yeah.
He hasn't brought
Yeah, he
anything
hasn't
newer,
brought
but he
anything
was
to the
threatening
table.
that whoever votes against his own will and so on is likely to lose the whip because
Yeah.
to sack them from the Conservative Party, whether
Yeah,
they like it or
yeah.
not. The Conservative Party
Including
is now
some-
in a real
Including
quagmire.
some very old...
Including Hammond,
even-
the exchequer,
Yeah, even the grandson of...
grandson of
Winston Churchill, Nicholas
including
Soames. Yeah.
21 of them he wanted. That cannot come to pass because it is important to put the country first. So they decided to put the interests of the country first rather than that of the government or Prime Minister Johnson, who incidentally has not been able to put something new on the table. He was
Nothing,
just threatening that
yeah.
after the no deal.
And it looks
they never
like
voted
it
for
looks
no
like
deal.
they could put Theresa May's deal as
Yes.
as an alternative to
Another
these,
alternative,
yeah,
at least to
yeah.
talk about the backstop, the Irish borders.
Yeah, the backstop
And
of
so
the
that
Irish
in order
border.
to keep the unity of
Yeah,
Great Britain intact, this thing is not happening.
But
It's
what's to me is incredible as somebody who's born and brought up in the United Kingdom is the amount the amount of anger and honestly, even I have a problem with
Yeah, of
some
course.
friends of mine on Facebook. Now
Yes.
because I was a supporter of Remain. Now
Yes.
they're my bitter enemies. They're insulting me on Facebook every day.
The
It's getting
thing
quite
is, it is not
it's
easy
incredible.
to be dealing with individual countries
Yes,
rather than
yeah,
to deal with a
yeah.
bloc. If you have EU as a bloc dealing, you have a lot of advantage.
Yeah, but
That is what we
yeah,
are fighting
yeah,
for in
yeah,
Africa in
yeah,
order to get
yeah.
a bloc.
To get a bloc,
from
to get a
continental
working-
bloc to
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Unfortunately, in Africa, it is easier to trade with euro than to trade with the next door neighbor.
Absolutely. And
With
my
different
argument,
currencies.
just going back to Brexit, my argument has been that it is better to try and change the EU's policies and the
Within.
way within.
Yes.
Because once you leave
Within.
the club, you can no
Within.
longer.
You
you've
can't
left,
fight it
you've
from
left, So you
outside.
can't start to dictate from outside.
You cannot.
But as you say, it is long overdue in Africa.
Yeah, long overdue.
Particularly with this rivalry between the French-speaking African
we
countries.
spoke about it in the past.
Yeah.
Even though Britain and America are complicit, but the main saboteur is France,
Yeah.
which gets
Yeah.
at least $500 billion every year from its ex-colonies and so on. Economically, they are still dependent on France, and therefore France with
is
the
dependent
complicity of
on
other
that
countries,
income.
except recently by Italy, that said all this refugee crisis or crisis was created by France. If had France allowed those African countries to develop on their own, Africans wouldn't have even dared to go to die in Sahara or in the sea. So this is it. It is going to be a hectic thing, and then they say with the ECO now starting with the regional thing, the East, Kenya, Tanzania, and so on should have one currency rather than say you are in Mombasa, you move to another country nearby, Ethiopia, your money is not good. The next door, Uganda, your money is not good. Let them have one currency.
Well, there is even they've even worked out on a currency, haven't they? For
Yes,
Africa?
for the West Africa ECOWAS. ECO.
Okay, West.
ECO.
Okay, ECO.
So
ECOWAS, yeah,
by next
yeah.
year, that is January, not
supposed
very
to,
far.
yeah.
And unfortunately, the countries are still sleeping, particularly the strongest economy in West Africa, Nigeria, is sleeping. This is something suicidal that France is not going to allow it to happen under its nose. But I don't see diplomatic
Any pressure to bring
pressure
it
by
about,
the
yeah.
Ministry of External Affairs to say that, look, France cannot always have it its own way. We have to do it, petition perhaps the European Union to get the backing, United Nations, and also tell AU that, look, this is the thing that is happening.
But you
And
think it'll actually happen?
It,
But as you say, there doesn't seem to be any
no, because
push
France,
to make it
France
happen.
was known for
Yes.
creating a rebellion
Yeah,
within
yeah,
a country,
yeah.
for creating a coup.
Because it will then be a
Toppling.
problem that
Yes.
it'd be difficult for France to be remitting all the...
Because from
Money
now,
from
from
African-
third
French
position in
African
terms of
countries.
economy
Yeah,
in Europe, without Africa, France is going to be on 15th.
Yeah.
15th country in terms of economy, from third to 15th.
But has Nigeria been pushing this issue?
I've not seen it because
next year?
I've not seen it because if a country like France is now accused of creating or supporting insurgency in Lake Chad region, I don't see why Nigeria cannot push and expose. See, look at the helicopters, French helicopters dropping things. In the past, they dropped in Borno.
Well,
in the northeast.
these allegations.
Allegations, but they
proved.
happened. Even recently in Katsina, it happened. So the Lake Chad region ought to have gone the way of Bakassi in the past. That under Obasanjo, who's supposed to keep quiet for giving out Bakassi without the consent of the National Assembly. They went to Paris and signed it off. So they wanted the oil-rich area of Bakassi to go to Cameroon in order to control it easily.
Now we have this English-speaking part of Cameroon are now kicking against French domination.
And if you check, you will see another hand from outside in order to create a problem. Because it is next to Nigeria. It's next to Nigeria. The same thing like Chad region with its resources and so on. They wanted, all this Western colonial wanted to have it at The Hague, which was mainly a political thing because Western countries, America and so on, are not signatories. And you cannot even hold them accountable for whatever they do in terms of crimes against humanity. It doesn't apply to them. And therefore, I just believe that France did not get the Lake Chad region to go the same way of Bakassi. It's now likely to create more problems in the name of Boko Haram insurgency. That is why I said Nigeria should sit up as a president. President Buhari, I don't see him doing it the way I want. Anything security. Don't wait for bureaucracy. Don't wait for gymnastics in the court and so on. Face the reality. How? First of all, you have the Ministry of Communication now with somebody like Fantami doing something great. You give them ensure that you give them 100% of their budget. Digitalize it. Bring ICT with solar energy all over so that you can track anything possible. You will have the security and the defense system in order to get this thing done. Secondly, Ministry of Defense, make sure that you give the arms, weapons, modern weapons, much more modern than those held by insurgents today. And you see only a few of them. When you see you go the depot and so on, they bring out the few modern ones in order to train them, but they don't have it enough. And therefore, what happened to the budget?
They have to use the antiquated.
The Air Force, imagine paying money for 3 jets that will only come by 2021, and it is not. Meanwhile, people can die and so on. You hardly the finance ministry gave in the past, hardly gave 50% of the budget. And therefore, what happens to the money? Why are you keeping too much money only to allow scammers to come and claim, similar to what happened in 9.6 billion? Have you ever had a country extracting 9.6 billion? Any country can collapse. Any economy of any country can collapse. It is a big joke.
Which we may get
It is a big joke, but it
what
has to do with
the
indifference of a government. If the previous government did its own work and so on.
Prof, I'd like us to move on to this issue now, which is in South Africa, where Nigerians are being abused and told to leave. Let's watch this short report from Channels Television.
Victoria's Central Business District on Wednesday. The death of a taxi driver who was shot while allegedly confronting a drug dealer triggered the situation.
We know them. Some they say is a Tanzanian, some they say is a Nigerian. We don't know how to differentiate them. But what we know are those guys who are selling drugs and nyaupe, and they're killing our siblings now. We are sick and tired about those guys.
That's where now you can see the damage caused here, because people were felt aggrieved, and then they resorted to this. But now, as it happened here, it's not the taxi industry. Let me put it straight.
South African citizens went on rampage, burning and looting shops belonging to foreign nationals, including Nigerians.
He came to my shop and burned everything to zero. I don't know where to start.
We are appealing to our government via the consulate, our High Commission here, to please interfere in this whole situation. Nobody is attending to us. We are so unsafe in this country.
You are destroying what is supposed to protect you. Then where are you going to run to?
9 a.m. Thursday, many Nigerians who claim to have been affected by the attacks vented their frustration on the Nigerian High Commission premises.
According to them, against the ineptitude or the slow action of the representatives here at the High Commission. And the way they went about it was quite unfortunate, because they scaled the fence, they almost destroyed the gate, they vandalized the electronics of the second gate, jumped over the other fence until my men were able to speak to them to stop it. They were almost at the point of destroying the glasses of the vehicles.
The Nigerian High Commission officials also visited the scenes of destruction and had to be rushed out because of safety concerns. The acting High Commissioner Omar Bako reassured those who came to complain of their losses.
What we can assure you all is that we've already stepped into the matter. We're taking action already that you may not know, but it may appear slow to you all, but certainly it's going to be effective. We will continue to do what we're supposed to do.
Meanwhile, the police continues to monitor the situation in the business district to keep the peace. Government and many interest groups have condemned the violence, and 17 people arrested for public violence will hopefully be arraigned soon. From Pretoria, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
This issue is very sensitive and it's very worrying, Prof.
Yes, I don't want, just like just earlier before we went on break, that I don't want the leadership of this country to be called inept. Inept in the sense that allowed certain things, slowness of the past to snowball into the new one. Because most of the problems of corruption, impunity, and so on came from 2003 under Obasanjo. All these things, problems that came. And again, instead of doing the real change, getting back all the things that were sold to private hands without seeing the performance like NEPA, NITEL, and so on. I said the new cabinet is very good because they have brains who can do the magic, like Eric Bashola in the Interior Affairs. This is something, somebody sincere to a fault. So give him the budget, 100% of the budget. He will do it for the prisoners, he will do it for the customs, he will do it in conjunction with the police affairs minister, and then with the defense and so on. Because we always tend to accuse the defense, the security and so on of not doing enough without even looking at how much they get by the particular issue. Because the devils are inside already, inside this government.
But coming back to South Africa.
South Africa's thing is that...
Where are we going to move from?
The thing is, these young boys don't really know their history, how Nigeria and other countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe and so on, contributed to the freedom from apartheid, and they don't know. And then the trauma, the mindset has been completely destroyed out of the apartheid. And today still, after taking over the government under ANCC, 85% of the resources are still in the hands of the minority, who this minority keep the monies in the bank doing business with outside, refusing to put in place industries and so on in order to employ the young ones. They are not doing so. So therefore the young ones see that any other country, any other citizen from any other country coming into South Africa and performing better as somebody who is coming to take their jobs. Which is wrong. Which is wrong, because if America is today's America, it is because of the immigrants and so on who are coming with their own brains. And that, again, on the other hand, I don't want Nigeria to take it the way South Africa is. South Africa has a problem with the security. Once again, we too have it. It is the same killings that are happening all over, even within the country. And therefore, until we put together our security, defense, and so on, we give them what they need and put together anything digital, make it modern, so that at the border somebody puts something, everybody will see it, and so on. They have their houses, and we don't do this thing. Whatever we can do in 5 minutes, for goodness sake, don't wait for another 1 month, because people are getting killed there. Secondly, the shops that are taken by some Nigerians. The same Nigerians who call themselves, over there they call themselves Biafra, and they call Nigeria zoo. They are doing the same wrong thing in other countries. They are reminding them of Nigeria, being pompous about Nigeria's pride. This is not good.
Even to UK and places now.
Their pomposity is beyond and breaking the laws. They have shops, but they sell something else behind the shop. Drugs.
Not all, but there's definitely a minority.
Exactly, they are a minority. Those who are doing clean jobs and so on are being, tarnished the images. Therefore, I just believe that with the police in Nigeria, the security and police, South Africa will come together. Those who are doing it, pick them and bring them back, hand them over to the security of Nigeria.
I was monitoring some reports from CNN and BBC. They were saying that the ANC has a problem because it's not delivering to the people.
It cannot, because the economy...
So some people are using the problems, they're using this problem, blaming, fueling the problem, blaming foreigners.
An indirect way of now coming back to say, okay, they don't want us because we're a minority, we will see, we'll keep our money. And when they are keeping the money, they don't crave jobs and so on. Now, South Africans, the young ones who don't even know their history, are turning against their co-Africans. And luckily, the young one, Julius Malema, is saying this is not the problem of Africans. Even if you try to remove all Africans from South Africa, you are still not going to have a job. The jobs are simply those people, these white men, refuse to create jobs. And therefore, but they cannot understand. Is it not the same thing, the same criminality, the same impunity? How happened? What is happening there in South Africa? Then Nigerians go and loot places like ShopRite, the economic interests of South Africa here. Is that how we respond?
That's what we say, striking your...
A wrong with another wrong.
Because it's Nigerian investors and Nigerians
80%
own
the shares
in these companies
belong to Nigerians. And those employed are Nigerians. When you have DSTV, you have MTN, you have ShopRite and so on. Although Nigeria now has, with the Ministry of Communications, Nigeria can now say, wait, even the MTN rate is too expensive. And there is no elevation, no graduation from the same equipment, bandwidth, etc. It is difficult, and it is only taking money without getting the services. This is how Nigeria should take it. And again, instead it said, South Africa, since you are not able to protect our own citizens, the best way now, all your own interests, again, you are going to pay tariff like this. Donald Trump is not an idiot. He is now really dealt with China, and so in terms of tariff and so on. Nigeria can also apply this thing. Now, from now on, you pay so percent in terms of tariff. Then within the country, those products coming from South Africa will be expensive, and then Nigerians as a big market will not buy from ShopRite, for instance. This is the best way, rather than I think the police did well by arresting them.
Marketing is a sensitive area.
Again,
where we're used to getting goods coming from
some people say
outside
I'm
Africa.
too much against the previous government because the previous government planted the seed of discord, corruption, and so on. It was Obasanjo who sold the NEPA without performance today. Now
And
today
now
you want to
in
recover.
Kaduna, we don't even have 8
Yes.
hours a day power supply.
You don't get it, and you want to take it back. It's difficult. They go to court. Again, the same Obasanjo government sold Nitel, Nigerian telecommunication. We ought to have landlines, for goodness sake. They are very strategic. At least one landline.
Yeah.
Selling Nitel,
Even
killing
in
it.
developed countries, they still have
For
landlines.
other countries
They still
to
have
bring their
public phone box.
mobile phones and so on and call it diversification, and it became easy now. How, for goodness sake, why kill the Nigerian telephone? The Nigerian telephone and so on, updating it, making it, it is very possible through which we can see those who are moving, those who are kidnapping and so on, we can see them. Today, the communication between the kidnappers and those who are expected to pay ransom can be seen in South Africa, MTN and so on. They are not cooperating with Nigerian NCC, Nigerian Communication.
Are you sure?
They are not. They are not. Unless they are
the technology is there.
The technology is there,
available
but
to...
we don't see how those things continue to happen without catching the real criminals, unless they have managed to compromise those who are supposed to say, we don't want this thing to happen because some of the SIMs are not registered. How can you...
Well, that's another issue.
Yes, a big issue. And therefore, Nigeria should now sit up. I want Mr. President to go back to his military aptitude of doing it immediately. Anything that has to do with security, national interest, and so on, you do it with immediate effect, in a fiat thing, without waiting for others to do it, because others who are used to doing the wrong thing and getting much money are not getting it, and then they will continue to sabotage you in order to waste your time the way they wasted 4 years now without a good thing, because the damage is too much that you can hardly see the new thing that have been put together in terms of infrastructure. So many things have been done under Buhari, but they are not seen because the damage done in 20-16 years was too much that it's just like a drop in an ocean. So therefore, you sit up, don't waste. You work 24/7.
We still face the same power supply problem.
The same thing, power supply.
We're not generating enough power.
We're still talking about 720. This is something that you can tell the companies of the world in Russia, in China, in America, in Britain. Come, I want this thing to get it 20 within 6 months. Do you have something temporary to place it for us until you finish the rest of the job? They can provide it within 6 months.
I understand.
And give it. Allow them to compete. Rather than to lean on America without getting what you want, than to lean. Are we psychologically not being now enslaved again? When the world now is moving, we are still stagnant, showing ineptitude, that you have brains all over the country, but you cannot take them, allow them to perform, because they see the... Nigeria is a big country. That 24 hours should not be allowed to go without something changed, new, something like that. So with the cabinet now, I just expect that Mr. President sees to their budgeting and follow the budget tracking.
How is the new cabinet performing?
It will perform because they are round pegs and round holes and so on, but they can't perform without the budget.
Structure.
Money.
Budget.
So they have the budget and so on. In the past 4 years under President Buhari, followed the same trauma, impunity in the past by not allowing them to have even 70%, mostly 30% of releases in financial releases.
Is there any indication this
Give
is
them
going to
at least
improve?
70-80% and then track the budget. And you will see performance.
So where are we with the budget? Where are we with this?
You can't have facial thing people who can do it, but they are not capable.
The ministerial appointments have now been appointed. They've been in place for how long now? A month?
Since just a few weeks ago now. The president slept for 3 months. The first one is left for 6 months, as if you wanted to do it alone. You can't do it alone in Nigeria. Mr. President or the governors should stop these things. There are governors who are yet to appoint their own commissioners. Despite being the constitutional thing, they are still waiting. And you cannot do it alone. There must be people who are better, who can perform better than you are, and you cannot block their future. Mentor them, allow them to come in and help you. That is what most of the governors do not understand. Elevate them, bring them in. The way they were allowed, the likes of President Buhari themselves were mentored, were allowed into the system to learn a lot from him. Why are they not replicating the thing?
Doing that? Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And besides, President Buhari, it is only okay this time around, but the first 4 years, he neglected his own field commanders and chose to listen to those who fought the change mantra, who were not part of the struggle, allowed them, and he's still listening to them. These are the same people who are now talking, Nigeria, come to our aid, were the same guys who are saying Nigeria was a zoo. And then the same people are saying no ranches for Fulanis, profiling them, no ranches, no ruga. Just throw it away. The Fulani herders never had electricity, no road, no houses. The only thing that give them education and give them ranches so that they don't move around. You are saying, don't do it, it is our money. And you expect these people you allow them to have, they don't want you to have peace. They want to distract you until you finish your tenure.
And the security situation is not getting any better.
It's not getting better. It can only be better the way I say it, digitally, 24 hours. Fix it. From anywhere, even if you are in Abuja, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, you can see what is happening at the border in Sokoto, Borno, and so on. You will be able to see it. We will also be having just enter one name, and you see the biodata in the computer. Why are we not going the modern way, doing it digital? And Nigeria borrowed 5 billion.
Maybe some people don't want it that way.
And so, can't you override them?
Yeah, bring the right people.
Yes, ask them out and bring those who will do it. Because you cannot have two lives. You can only die once. Do it for the posterity. Remove them and put those who are doing it. Nigeria was said to have borrowed $5 billion just for ICT. That was a great. What happened to it? So many years down the lane. We haven't seen it, for goodness sake. And you cannot expect people who are doing, and no matter what you do, people will still criticize you. Even if it is good, you will still criticize you. But then you have to be smart. Smart again for people to say, we're understanding. That bringing us perhaps to the Kaduna example of demolition. Right now, as I was coming, demolition is going on along Buhari Road, Wharf Road, and you see demolition. Nigerians, demolition, okay, give them alternative, compensation, and so on. And again, when you demolish, seem to be demolished, and you also see the construction going on simultaneously. That is not happening now.
I understand.
And 2015, for goodness sake, in terms of drainage and so on, down along Laminu Road, the drainage, there's still nothing done. My sister eventually, she was pregnant and trying to jump, fell inside, and eventually died. And anytime I go through that, I remember that thing. If you demolish, construct at the same time, so that people will say, okay, this is good for our own.
People have to see the fruits.
They see the fruit of the thing. Don't demolish and leave it, for goodness sake. The governor of Kaduna should understand this. People have feelings. And the feelings can only be said to say, okay, we'll have a plan for Kaduna to be the real headquarters of the North. This is the plan. But where are we going from here?
No, it's good to have regulation.
Yes.
Regulation
is good.
In tandem with...
But for goodness sake, don't demolish it and leave it like that for years, expecting people from outside to come and involve the people of Kaduna themselves. If you have foreign companies, let them work under them. Rather than just doing it alone. You cannot do it alone, Governor. And President Buhari, you cannot do it alone. Just borrow the military mindset of Abacha and the political mindset of President Umaru Yar'Adua, and you get it. 70% of what Abacha did as a soldier and 70% of what Umaru Yar'Adua did will just make us sail through. Forget about what happened under Obasanjo and Jonathan. It is just a damaged past and then a useless tenure of selling public property through BPE. And doing impunity when people, anybody who opposed Obasanjo at that time, today is either sick or dead. What kind of coincidence is this? So others could just say, come in and say, those who are criticizing capitalist system of XYZ, America and so on, easily they can conveniently come under with the connivance of this leadership of security, eliminate such people, such critics and so on. I say so because I'm one of the survivors, several times. So when you have somebody who calls himself a statesman, yet loyal to a foreign country, foreign interests and so on, doing one good thing, making noise about it, and then destroy 9 others. People like Obasanjo should keep quiet. Nigerians can forgive Jonathan because of his naivety, inability, and then non-readiness before becoming president. But Obasanjo knew a lot. He should keep quiet this time around because his file is too bulky in terms of doing the wrong thing for Nigeria. He planted the seed of all those things. And change can only be changed today. Let us change it from within. The past, those who are part of the previous government should keep quiet because there is nothing, there is no lesson to teach the new government. And the new government should not continue to ride on change without doing the real change.
Well, we want to see change.
Time is not a friend.
Yeah.
Time is not a friend.
Not a friend.
We want to see change and do it the right way. For goodness sake, help this country. Don't be stingy. Don't keep the money. Money is meant to be spent in order to get more money.
That's why we have...
The Arabs will say, Ad-Dirahim bid-Dirahim tuksab.
Yeah,
Ad-Dirham bid-Dirahim tuksab. You spend money in order to get money. That is it. You don't spend it. You are just waiting for infrastructure. For goodness sake, whatever good infrastructure you put in place, if there is no security, they will be destroyed the way it is done in Borno.
Because infrastructure has been neglected, that's why we have so many problems in this country. Problems of
nothing will go work until you put the security infrastructure first.
Problem of transport, communications.
Transport. Subsidize it. Make it transportation easy so that food will be there for anybody to eat. Be affordable. And you cannot be saying everybody should go to farm when there is no security for farmers. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
People are afraid of going to... And you can see the hands of other...
the northeast, even within Kaduna State.
Now the northwest is affected. Now some people are saying, within Katsina, we are likely to take the laws into our hand because we will not allow people to come and kidnap us and then we just wait for them to humiliate us. And don't wait for this kind of thing to happen. Don't allow people to take the laws into their hands because you, as a government, should equip your own security and defense system. So the military will take care of the borders, the police, DSS will take care of and make sure their own welfare, their own salary is good enough. And then the weapons, the logistics, the devices, all this apparatus should be in place in a modern way for goodness.
Okay, I think we've just about running out of time. I'd like to thank Prof once again for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
And unfortunately our other guests didn't turn up today. I think the rain kept them away. Anyway, we'd like to thank the studio crew. We'd like to thank the staff in the control room and the studio and everybody on the Global Reports production team. And we'd like to wish everybody to watch the program once again same time next week. Keep watching Liberty Television. Good night. it's not just about the individual news item, it's all about what's behind the news story. What went on before, now and after.
We report today not from Kaduna, Nigeria, but from Liverpool in the United Kingdom. Slavery Museum, that's right, in Liverpool. Dr. Benjamin.
No personal attack on candidates.
Okay, thank you very much. ATV Liverpool. I'm here with Chris Kerr, who is one of the team that runs this remarkable little station.
My background is that I'd spent quite a lot of time working for Bernardo Television as a reporter and producer, and I had lived in Liverpool for most of my life, and I've had a very strong interest in doing something in the way of more local television, more than the regional service which Bernardo and the BBC offer.
This is Arthur Brooke signing off from Liberty Global Reports, and have a very good week. Thank you, Saidu, for coming on the programme.
My pleasure.
And please check out our Facebook page.